All right, guys, welcome to the ARWP podcast. I am your co-host Eric Novak, and today we have a special guest. We have Matt Sydal.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Of course, we're really happy to have you. All right, let's start off with the first question. Matt, you've been in multiple places: ROH, New Japan, Impact, WWE. If you had to, and many more, PWG, many more. If you had to pick a place that gave you, the energy to be yourself, to be as free as possible, do what you want to do, not what's written for you. What company would you say are the ones that are, the most free with their roster? We cut you out, Matt. We can't hear you. No, we can't hear you. Something. Did you mute yourself by accident?
No.
Oh no, we can hear you now. We can hear you now.
Yeah, that's just where my phone was sitting. Yeah, so, with wrestling, it's hard to explain, but with live events, there's a lot less structure to them, and they're a lot more free-flowing, whereas televised events typically are a million times more structured, and there's a lot more those matches are slightly more influenced. So I would say WWE was the most heavily influenced, but, I mean, when I did wrestling for GCW when I first started back in 2001, our TV tapings were much like the WWE tapings, even though we were only doing public access TV. They were very similar, very broken down by segments, almost to the minute, basically. It's a very, producing a TV show and producing a live event, completely different worlds, the way that they're structured. So, I really felt like I've always been able to basically be myself.
All right. Thank you for sharing that. We could currently see you on Evolve. We saw you on Evolve 141 and 142. Can you tell us more about how the call to Evolve happened?
What the call to Evolve?
Yeah.
I've worked with Gabe Spolsky since 2006, 5, 4. I don't even remember when we first started working together. But yeah, we were just, it was great that we sort of had an opportunity, and I had the dates open, and I wanted to work the guys from the WWA 4 school, from AR Fox's school, like Leon Ruff, and I got to tag with Andrew Everett. So, I had a good experience there. So,
Do you decide you're gonna come back, or how is it looking for Evolve? Is the future bright, or?
No, I mean, I'm not really interested in doing more than just like one-offs.
Mm-hmm. Now I have to ask you, because I remember getting the news. Was it Evolve's idea to turn your name back to Evan Bourne? Because I know that was there for like a simple couple days.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just used that to promote the match, to the WWE fans that might not be familiar with Matt Sydal. So,
because it gives true wrestling fans the wrong approach. Because usually Evolve takes WWE takes a lot of Evolve talent. So when we heard Evan Bourne, I remember it was like the whole social media was blowing up about, oh my God, Evan Bourne's gonna be back. Evan Bourne's gonna be back. But I mean, it's good to know where you stand with Evolve. Let's talk about more of your wrestling style. People say you're a high flyer. Background wrestling a lot, and watching your match against the TJP in Boston. That's on YouTube. Anyone can watch it. You have an amazing technicianal style. Do you think people sleep on the fact that you're an amazing technician wrestler?
Well, that's I don't really listen to what people say about me, but what I do is everything I do is based 100% in pure technique. I mean, from the day I started going to wrestling schools to every time I get in the ring, basically it's just working on technique. I mean, being a wrestler is a lot of travel, a lot of hard work, a lot of all these things, but, promos, all this other stuff, but it all boils down to technique, footwork, and what in the ring. And, to me, when I was even a backyard wrestler, I was 15, 16 years old, I could do every single move in the book. I mean, I was training for 2 weeks at the wrestling school I started at, and I started calling spots. Give me a Japanese arm drag. Give me a regular arm drag. Like, I could throw a spin kick, from at age 16, just like I still do now.
Mm-hmm.
My approach has been a little bit original.
I mean, it's the point where, again, I followed you completely, after the whole WWE. I followed you all the way to every other promotion you were at, even to, the Israel shows where you won, the championship. They're amazing. You have the style where I see you wrestling differently. You know, I saw in companies you were restricted from a lot. Like I could tell. I don't know if you can understand based on how you wrestle, but there's a lot of more things that you do outside of licensed promotions than you in them. Because I see more interaction with fans. I see more high flying base moves. I see a lot more. That's why the independent scene is always so popular. And when you get to hear a small little venue, you get to hear big names like that, you already know the show's going to be amazing, and the style of wrestling will be more than you can possibly see in regular promotions. Speaking of promotions, let's get to New Japan. You had an amazing one in New Japan. You tagged team with Ricochet. You fought Will Ospreay. A lot of dream matches happened there. Any idea of you going back to New Japan?
Yeah, I'd love to go back there. There's nothing in the works right now. I think for now that I don't know if that looks likely, but it's New Japan's one of my favorite wrestling organizations I've worked for. I love and respect what they do. I think it's one of the greatest places for junior heavyweights. And like I said, the thing with where you wrestle is it's made up of the wrestlers that are a part of the company. So I don't really divide things up by companies. It's sort of like who's in the locker room with me when I'm there. And the New Japan locker room is just like they're star-studded, they're hardworking, honorable guys. Like the American guys I was working with at that time, Kyle and Bobby, the Bucks. I mean, they're absolutely the best tag teams in the world, and I love tag team wrestling. If you know my history, I really came into my own wrestling for Dragon Gate, which is famous for tag and six-man tag matches. So I really loved tagging with Ricochet and really getting to stay in my wheelhouse, because I wouldn't say, you keep trying to say that things are restricted or I'm held down, but you can only wrestle the person in front of you. And when you have the Young Bucks in front of you, your options are a lot superior than the cards I was being dealt at WWE. The Great Khali wasn't exactly the most agile big man to work with. However, I did have matches with Mark Henry that I think were, badass. And
you took a lot of wins. You took a lot of
matches.
victories.
So, I stand back. Yeah.
No, I mean, I watched recently, actually, very recently, I watched your match against the Bucks. It was Bucks and Kenny, you, Kushida, and ACH. Amazing match. One of my favorite ROH matches. So, yeah, I see what you're saying when you mean by it's talent that you work with. It's who you work with to make it better of a match. It's like talent is the main purpose and not the promotion. So,
correct.
So, let's talk about Impact. Because when you were at Impact, there was a lot of amazing talent. At the time where you were at Impact, it was at its best, in my opinion. I thought it was amazing. I thought your character was amazing. Can you tell us more about the Impact roster than other regular, promotion rosters? Because, there's sizes. I heard a lot of rumors about the locker room being very small. You get to all show in the locker room, and I know in other promotions it's very different. So how would you compare those two environments?
I don't really know. I can just tell you the guys that I worked with at Impact were great. Like when I first started, Chris Masters was there. John Morrison came in. Phoenix and Pentagon were there. LAX, Santana and Ortiz were there. I mean, these guys are the best wrestlers, and that's why things were going so good at Impact. I think there was everybody that showed up at these shows. Nobody was trying to take it easy. Everybody was showing up with something to prove. Sammy Callahan, the OVE guys, everybody wants to make a name for themselves. I think that's what the Rascals are doing right now. To me, they kind of represent the original spirit of TNA. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what, Scott D'Amore and Sonjay, those guys were really working towards.
Mm-hmm. All right. That's very interesting. It's a good look on it. What was your favorite Impact match? Because you had many. You had many amazing matches. You and Ishimori was fun for me to watch. There's a lot of amazing matches. What would be one that you'd be like, if I had to tell someone to watch Impact, this is the match they should watch me in?
Yeah, so my response to that is not one of my matches. It's John Morrison versus Phoenix. Mm-hmm. Morrison versus Ray Phoenix from Impact from, I don't know, some pay-per-view. It was the greatest Impact match I've ever seen in my life. One of the best matches I've ever seen live. So that'd be the one I'd recommend. I can't tell you what I had that was good, but
yeah, but I want more of the fans to go online and be like, oh, okay, so for ROH I can watch this match and see how well he did, because it's all about different rosters. Watching in WWE, you had many rivals. You had the Colognes, you had Mark Henry, you had so many. You had Shelton Benjamin in your debut. There was a lot. But, with other promotions, for example, New Japan takes wrestling more than, the ideal storyline. In New Japan, it's all based on wrestling. I've seen you hit 5-star matches with Osprey. I've seen you hit 5-star matches with Ricochet. It's all different environments, but that's the point where it's like wrestlers aren't being used a lot in other promotions on the quality of wrestling. But like you said, it's all about the opponent that they're with that brings out the energy within. So that does answer the question. Let's talk about your finisher. How was your finisher created? What was the idea? Because it is one of the most dangerous moves ever to be done. You know, it's not an easy move to happen.
Yeah, well, I modeled myself even early in the days before there was YouTube. We used to have to trade tapes to watch like wrestling from Japan, and I fell in love with Jushin Thunder Liger, and I believe at the time Mark Miro was doing a shooting star off the top, and those were the guys I imitated myself after, and I just really took me a while to work up the courage to commit to the flip. But I did a lot of visualization, and I felt pretty confident, and then I went for it, and it was just a process of perfecting it. And it's like, you don't fear the man who knows 10,000 kicks. You fear the man that's practiced one kick 10,000 times, and that's how it is with me in the shooter. I've done it more than anybody. Like, it's precise, it's perfect. I can count on it. I rely on it. I love it. I still love doing it. They're still scary every time, but it's worth the risk.
You make it look good. You make it look really good. You make it look easy. That's the thing. Like, you do it off ladders, you do it off anything, you make it look very easy. And that's the reason why when someone sees a shooting star, they're like, oh, that's, I easily picture Matt Sydal. I easily picture the best person who can hit it. Speaking of the finisher, you had an amazing WrestleMania moment when you did it off a ladder, when you hit the shooting star. Can you tell us more of your WrestleMania moment? The backstage, the actual, part of you being in the match, and then you after the match.
Gosh, so the thing about WrestleMania week is it's so busy. You have 80,000 autograph signings that last for 2-3 hours at a time. Yeah, appearances, matches, all this stuff. The only time I actually got to relax or feel good was when I was out about getting ready to wrestle, because then everybody left me alone. For us, I care so much about the performance. It's like I have to get into a special state of mind. And at WrestleMania, I had realized that, boy, I hadn't gotten into that introspective place where I kind of tune in with myself. In a week, I'd been just crazy busy trying to make sure I had this for this signing, and I was up in time and not late for that, and all the other responsibilities that go along with it, when really all I cared about, I didn't care about how many people were in the crowd or all that stuff. It's just I wanted to go out and have the best match of my life. And that's sort of the motivation before you walk out there is you're going to make memories, not just for yourself but for everyone there.
No, yeah, everyone is still talking about that match. That amazing. Again, I 100% thought you should have won. That was my pick. I remember watching it, and I'm like, he's got to have to win this. I was very disappointed with the outcome, but, it's wrestling. It's not, you're not the one who's writing it. It's you can't always have the way you want. But, yeah, you did make everyone be like, oh, I know exactly who was in this match. I know exactly who saw the show in this match. So speaking of, memorable moments and, historical, Randy Orton's greatest RKO was with you, I feel like every time anyone talks about it, can you tell me how that idea even happened? How someone was like, oh, okay, you're going to hit the RKO after? Because that's the most, again, very dangerous, very risky. So can you tell us, your feeling at that match, knowing that that's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, this was something that I had probably, I don't know what day we did it on a Monday. I probably talked to Randy about it on Saturday or Sunday, and then we did it on Monday. I mean, it's just one of those things where everything fell into place. It was the right, we were trying to sell the pay-per-view coming up, and we thought this would be a great way to lead into it. That it was super exciting, and I thought the way it was shot with the way the cameraman shot me climbing up to the top rope and the way they captured the moment, it really did bring people out of their seats, which is the goal we go for every night. And it was just that night we punched through the screen and got through to everybody that night. And that's one of my most proudest moments.
It's crazy because no matter where you look, no matter who talks about Randy Orton's RKOs, it's at that moment where I believe everyone felt scared for you. Everyone's like, oh my God, what just happened? I remember sitting there and I literally looked away. I was like, no, there's no. I thought, honestly, I was the worst. I'm like, oh my God, he better be okay. I hope there's no injury, because it didn't look good. You made it perfect. You made it look really good. You were out in that match. That's why it's very dangerous. That's the point about wrestling, where it's you watch it and you're like, is he okay? So I want to know how was the back for you? Like when you went to the back, I bet everyone was like, "Do you have to go to the doctor? Do we have to look at you? Like how's the atmosphere in the back?"
No, I don't really remember what the backstage reaction was because we just move on. The show goes on. You don't dwell on that moment. You don't know how impactful it was. But the thing with the shooting star press is it hurts the least when I land on somebody who's like a big fella.
Mm-hmm.
Hurts the most when you miss and just belly flop. But that would only be more as if you got RKO'd at the same time. So it is the most painful landing that I could have endured. But for me, I wouldn't think twice about doing that again for that moment because that's timeless and that's what everybody goes for in wrestling.
Mm-hmm. All right, so here's a couple, dream matches. Who are 3 wrestlers that you haven't faced yet? It could be anyone, but I know you faced a lot. So if you could think of 3 guys, that would be amazing. 3 guys that you've never faced and you would really want to. That is possible.
I mean, it's not fair because I've wrestled everybody, but I wanted another chance with some guys like Cesaro, who I always wanted to wrestle him one more time. I think that would be a fun one for me. Or a guy like Sami Zayn or Kevin Owens. Those 3 guys would be really fun to work with.
Mm-hmm.
There's a ton of new luchadors. There's a ton of guys. There's no shortage of talent, but I like to think there's a whole lot of matches, but there's right now I don't have anything booked. I don't have anything coming up. We don't have any real matches, so for me it's hard to even think about it. I do my training, I do my sit outs, I do my stuff, but normally since the day I was 15 or 16, I've always had a wrestling match to think about, to run over ideas in my head, to think about what would I do if he does that, what's going on. And right now we don't have that, so I'm kind of just saying, hey, we're just going to take it nice and easy. But yeah, I'm not planning on taking a lot of matches right away. I'm not looking to get back into any wrestling. WrestleMania was supposed to be here in Tampa,
Mm-hmm.
where I live near close enough to Tampa to call it Tampa. And when coronavirus started popping up, I said, we're not going to be able to do this. So, every penny we've ever made is handshaking, meet and greets, these kind of things. It's extremely special to what we do in wrestling. And when I sort of realized that might not happen, I kind of had to make peace with that. And we all lost a huge chunk of change that weekend as everybody planned on working a lot and selling merchandise and all these things. But it sort of deprioritized that and, makes you think, well, it doesn't matter how many RKOs or shooting stars I've done. It's, it's just tough times for everybody. So I think it's good that everybody's getting together and helping each other out and staying in touch and staying in contact. So I appreciate you letting me stay in touch with all the fans out there and getting a chance to talk one-on-one and plus take questions. I'm happy to do that at this time, since I can't really be doing the thing to me that's the most special thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'll do something second place. But
yeah, but that's how this podcast was created. I'm up to my 6th episode. I had at least 5 interviews already, and it's the point where it's like I said to myself, it could either be moping around waiting for wrestling to come back, because I thrived on the live events. I've seen live events as more of a in your heart type of thing than watching on TV, because it's not really for you. Like I go to a House of Glory. I know you were at House of Glory. I go to House of Glory and I feel the love. I feel that the company gives you what they want the audience to watch, not the TV, not the camera, not anything around there. So that's why live events are very powerful. That's why I started the podcast. I said I'm gonna get people that I've always wanted to meet, always wanted to talk to, and get a conversation going. That's why this is not only, for, the fans, but it's also for the wrestlers, because this is contributing. I want you guys not to sit home and think about wrestling when you can easily talk about wrestling and enjoy the aspect of it. I had Tyson Kidd a while back. I was talking to him at the big event, and he told me, he was like, it's a lot of times where, I sit down and I know I can't do it, and I just, get really upset the fact that it's there, but no one can enjoy it. In this way, a lot of people can enjoy, because I know a couple people that I've already spoke to are waiting to hear this interview. I know a lot of people. You met one of my friends, his name is Trevor, at the Boston show. He wore a TJP hat and a Ninja Kid shirt. I don't know if you remember him. He was a big guy. It's all good things. Like I really wanted to meet you. I really wanted to go. You were literally from the start for me, and I've only been hearing good things about it. So it's like I want to get these wrestlers to get up and tell their story, at this time especially, because all you could do is just talk about it. That's all you could do to feel good right now, because that's what you need. You need people to hear your story and to listen. So going away from that, let's talk about your tag opponents. You tagged with a lot of people, counting PWG matches. You tagged with Ricochet. You tagged with Kofi. You tagged with Cena for a few matches. I don't know how many live event matches. I know there were TV matches. I don't know if there were any live event matches. But tell me about tagging for you, because you are a singles wrestler, but you do the tag game. How does it feel to do one or the other?
Yeah, I mean, I prefer doing tag matches. That's what I learned to do in Dragon Gate. So my number one tag partner is like a guy named Sima, who helped train me in Japan. And then, we would always wrestle Naruki Doi and Yoshino. We had some awesome matches. Ricochet is a great tag team partner. My brother, Mike Sydal, is one of my favorite tag partners. Early on in my career, in Ring of Honor, in the early days, I tagged with AJ Styles, and then I think I tagged with Christopher Daniels, and we became tag champions first, and then I ended up tagging with AJ after that. But you learn a lot when you're in the same ring as these guys, and so if I wasn't having one-on-one matches with them, being on the tag team was a great way to learn as well. And so that's sort of what's great about when I first got to New Japan, I would get to be in tag matches with Tanahashi and some of the top stars and see how they commanded the ring, and really got to learn under them as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, going back to New Japan did start their U.S. promotion now. They have their own U.S. dojo now where, they have their own specific talent. Like, I know TJP, I know Colt Cabana. I know there's a lot of talent that are on the U.S. version of the New Japan. So I do hope to see you come back one day, because Tanahashi was actually at that event recently, too. It was, I think it was in Tampa, actually. I'm pretty sure it was recently. But, yeah, that's, independent promotions are all growing with so much. So let's talk about your Reborn. I don't want to call it a gimmick because, it's a real thing. It's a real, people do have that mentality to be reborn, to be, better of themselves. Can you tell me what that meant to you? Where and how that came to be?
Yeah, well, it's really just a great play on words if you think about it. But I really, honestly, I thought it would get a better reception than it did. I think Reborn has... to me it means one thing, but there's Reborn means something to a lot of different people, and it wasn't as colloquially as understood as I wanted it to. And I think while I'm saying the same thing to myself, pointing to my third eye has been a more effective way of getting across something that comes from my heart, but somehow going this, it makes a little bit more sense to people. And I think that to me, that's what's important. It's not the words, it's not the verbiage, it's like the meaning behind it. And that's why, like you said, you like these live events wrestling, because you can you get this feel. It's less tangible. It's more of like a feeling. It's beyond words. It's a sort of a poetry. And so for me, it's like, it doesn't matter what I say, as long as it connects with people and it makes them think what I'm trying to get at.
Mm-hmm. All right, because my next question was about the third eye, but you just explained exactly what it was. So tell us, you had a lot of matches this year. I've seen a lot of matches this year. What was one of your favorites? And then after that, my follow-up question would be, what is any match you ever had? What is one match that you'd be like, I will never forget this match, only because of what happened in that match?
Well, I think I only remember the second question, and that would be the PWG match that I had with the Bucks and Ricochet, where me and Ricochet did like a shooting star press into a tombstone Meltzer driver style. Just that match has great memories because of how much I loved wrestling Reseda and how I really felt like people understood what we were trying to do, and like it was an extremely special moment that 6 guys worked really hard for, and it was just one of those moments that I could drink in, and it really makes it all worth it. Makes all the sacrifice and the travel and the no sleep and the insanity to go out there and take a risk and have it pay off. It's a great feeling.
Mm-hmm. What's the difference between PWG and other promotions? Because I heard a lot of stories that PWG, is a different vibe. It has different feeling when you go in. There is a different atmosphere. Can you explain to us, in your vision, if there was a different atmosphere in PWG than other promotions?
Yeah, well, they did PWG only was worried about PWG. They didn't care who was doing a pay-per-view or what was, they weren't worried about like the news of wrestling. They just did their own thing, which meant they were creating their own thing, not to compare to others, but just to create something that they believed in, and then they put it out. And whether 5 people saw it or 5,000 or 50,000, they were going to do the same thing anyway. And they just really believed in themselves. When I first started in wrestling, the idea was not to get signed to a contract somewhere. The idea was to start your own fed and blow up and get your own deal. And that's what those guys did. I mean, the guys that came out of PWG eventually started the company that became that is AEW. And I mean, it just goes to show you it took a little long for somebody to capitalize on it. But I mean, they've been putting their hearts into some really incredible work for some time. And it's just a matter of time before somebody wanted to utilize that and make it a giant international destination instead of just Reseda, little American Legion Hall.
Mm-hmm. So I have to ask, even though I feel like you get this question a lot and it's probably really annoying at this point because of, what AEW,
No, it's fake. It's fake. I'm just kidding. It's real.
Have you, I don't want to say, contacted, but like, because I know the Bucks very well. I know you know Cody very well. I know there's definitely relationships that were built up to a lot of big people in the AEW promotion. Is there anyone that you talked to and talked about maybe, in the near future showing up to AEW? Because AEW is one of the most talked about, no matter how much you want to avoid the question about, are you going to AEW? Are you going to AEW? And I feel like you get the question a lot. But is it, a possibility to see you at AEW,
Yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't be a possibility. I've had just a bunch of injuries that I need to get past, which the past year was pretty good for me. And then this downtime has been great. Been good rest on my neck. So I think if I'm fully healthy and ready to go, I think there's a lot of companies that I would fit in good at, but I would really be privileged and honored to be a part of AEW. I always feel like what they've been going for is the PWG spirit. It's that mentality. It sort of is the heart in the right place. And plus, I mean, just today, the Bucks came out with the 200th episode of being the Elite. And it was the best wrestling programming I've watched. It was, I couldn't put my phone down. I believe in what they do. And I would just be proud to be a part of it. And then I feel like, if I'm able to gather the right kind of confidence, I can really make an impact in the wrestling world. But really just being a part of that would be cool. There's a lot of good wrestling, and I love being an independent wrestler, and I'm, not complaining about how things go, being an independent wrestler. But yeah, there's definitely benefits to being with these companies that are taking care of the wrestlers during this time off. Like for me, I was lucky. I've been talking to Ring of Honor about working with them, and they were able to help me out because we had an event we canceled on March 17th, and they were able to give us, they were able to pay us even though the event was canceled, and that was just like a lifesaver for me. And so, you don't want to forget about the people who've taken care of you and how good places have been to you. Mm-hmm. So for me, I had pretty good luck. My main focus right now is my wrestling school. I have a wrestling school in Clearwater, Florida, the Sai Dojo. That's my main priority. Traveling is just, I don't know if we'll ever go back to it. I don't know if I'll ever go back to shaking hands and doing meet and greets, but I will be training wrestlers for forever, hopefully. So that's really what I pour my heart into these days, and really trying to get my students up the chain of wrestling and watching them grow is. And, so same thing where I watch my friends on TV and be successful. That's really pretty big gift anyway. So, you'll catch me at the wrestling school for the near future. Don't hold your breath to find me on TV anywhere.
My heart hurt a little just now when you were like, no meet and greets. I was so close.
Yeah. Not feel it, but it will have to be limited and smart. We just got to be smart about it. That's all. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to listen to whatever the doctors say and then go from there.
Is it? Can I ask the injury? Is it your foot? Is it the leg area? That's the one that you have to get.
Yeah. So I mean, my foot is a constant issue, and it really has been caused more problems, especially when I was doing shooting star presses and smashing into my foot. So the rest has been good, but it's like if I go back and wrestle full time, I do end up in a lot of pain. And I dislocated my shoulder when I was at Impact, and I didn't really take any time off, so I'm still recovering from that shoulder, which then begats a neck injury as these things kind of cascade into each other. So, I've just been rehabbing that. Like, I couldn't re-sign with Impact because I just couldn't go to work. I wouldn't be able to wrestle. I took, 2019, took about 8 months off, tried to come back and wrestle, and then kind of had a little bit of difficulty, and then sort of by the end of the year, I was starting to feel good, and then this year, I felt like I was really on track. I was really looking forward to this WrestleMania weekend, but here we are.
Is that a hint of something that you given? Like, were you gonna go to the event and watch it? Were you gonna go to WrestleMania, or were you gonna be a part of the WrestleCon stuff?
Yeah, no, I was doing WrestleCon and maybe Ring of Honor as well, but basically just I had WrestleCon and all the matches were going to be surprises, and it was going to be awesome. We were super excited about this shows. It's a huge letdown, it felt really weird that first weekend, but we're rolling with the punches.
Do you think you guys are postponing it, or are you guys just going to wait till next WrestleCon? If we see you, back at these events and this and that. Are you guys? Did you talk to ROH? Are you guys talking about rescheduling it for another event, or is it just
Yeah, that's my understanding. Is that everything's basically getting rescheduled. I don't imagine these opportunities will disappear, but we just it depends on how things are. If fans don't have $20 to go to the show because they can't work. Mm-hmm. Who knows? But hopefully, we all make a full recovery, and people are actually super stoked about coming out for live entertainment, and then we can really make a run and have some great shows and get the ball rolling once again. Kick back off where we left off.
Mm-hmm. All right. So let's compare your 2004 ROH, Matt Sydal, to your 2017 career, Matt Sydal. What would you say changed in style of, just growing as a wrestler?
I don't quite know. What's the difference? Same guy. Just, I really just, that foot injury would be number one. That really just causes modification and requirement for me to just be a little bit more careful because I just have a damaged wing that just has a huge lump on it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you want to get freaked out, I can show it to you right now.
Sure. I think that's how we did FaceTime. I think it's the... Yeah, I see.
Yeah, this is the lump there. It's not supposed to be there. Mm-hmm. So
is that it's surgery, right? They're talking about surgery basically for that?
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, I just have a bit tougher foot or wwhatever, but it's, I passed, all the doctors said they did everything they could, and, I just have to do my daily physical therapy training. Earlier today I do lift weights, throw kicks, throw strikes, do footwork drills, Mm-hmm. It's not, to make it look easy in the ring, it requires a lot of work on the back end.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. So I have to ask, because, the fan in me who's like, oh, I love that he kept this. Your, I don't call them knee pads, but your kick pads, they're the M. I don't know if that's an M or if it's supposed to represent something. You've never changed that. You went with it as Evan Bourne, and you went with it as Matt Sydal. Do they help you? Because I never see any other wrestler in those kind of kick pads. So I want to know what are so special about those.
What's special about them is they make me unique. I'm the only one who does have them. Actually, now I do see more people with that kind of shell over the knee pad style. But, when I wrestled in Dragon Gate, the great wrestler Dragon Kid had kick pads like that. And I asked him, I said, could I please get kick pads like that? Because those are the coolest things I've ever seen in my life. And, yeah, that's how it started. My costumes, all that stuff. I really feel like I've been a bit of a trendsetter in that industry. I know it doesn't mean much, but the Dragon Gate guys really cared about their costumes and their gear, and that's sort of where I got the belts and the armbands and the kick pads, all that from. And currently, right now, while we're not wrestling, I'm making custom Japanese-style knee pads for some wrestlers. And so if there's aspiring wrestlers or anybody who's interested, they can look up, I think it's Wrestling Knee Pads on Instagram, Lion Shield knee pads. I make, custom knee pads for wrestlers. So that's so, the costume is so much a part of my life. Sort of like Colt Cabana you kind of have to do it yourself if you have a vision and you want to execute it, so that's another service that I offer.
So I have to ask, because that's probably, half. It was, the fact that you were the underdog. You weren't the biggest guy in that ring, but you always were the quickest, the fastest. You were always, I want to say, the positive guy. Everyone saw you and you were like, oh, that's the guy who's for the fans. He's for us. He's not going to give us a heel turn or anything like that. So that is one reason why I fell in love with the gear. I think your gear was probably the coolest gear I've seen. The black and red, the red and black, the blue and white, the green. Tell me, how did you design all that gear? Was that all your vision?
Thank you. I mean, I got help from some of my friends in Japan. I think Baby Hulk designed one of those. Maybe both of them, that gear. And then, it's different people throughout the years have made my gear, and they all did a different job, equally good. And now I've got the best people ever making my wrestling gear. I have my girlfriend doing it. And so, I've got the best gear now. And now I design all of it down to the every eyeball on there.
Did you create the white one, the newest one? Did you create the newest one, the blue and white? It's like blue, and that's my favorite one. I saw photos. I couldn't find the match. If you could send me a match, that'd be awesome. I couldn't find a match, but I saw photos. That gear is amazing. The merge of colors, wow.
I appreciate that. Yeah, we made that specialty for a show that I was doing in Qatar. I believe it was on Fight TV, maybe, or Fight something. Mm-hmm. This is called QPW. So, maybe you can check that out somewhere. I wrestled Matt Cross and White Eagle, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that might be worth checking out. QPW is a pretty sweet Mid-East wrestling company that puts on huge shows with big stars like Mark Henry and Kevin Nash. And me, of course.
I mean, anytime I see you at these events, I'm like, that they got big talent. No matter, a lot of wrestlers don't look at themselves like, oh, I'm nothing big. I'm not, people I grew up watching. But you definitely impacted a lot of fans, including my perspective of wrestling. So when I see a lineup and I see you and Matt Cross, I'm like, Evan Bourne, Son of Havoc in the same ring. It's pretty awesome. So speaking of, Son of Havoc, Lucha Underground, has that ever been a thing for you? Because a lot of wrestlers do talk about, I wish I took the opportunity to go to Lucha Underground. I should have done it. Did you ever participate in Lucha Underground?
No, I didn't, but I did sort of the precursor to that called Wrestling Society X.
Mm-hmm.
When I got out of WWE, I basically went straight to Ring of Honor, so that didn't give me the ability to do Lucha Underground, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Did you watch it? Did you see the idea? Because it's a very different aspect of wrestling. It was in a temple. There was a lot more storyline. It was more of a television, like one of those, not sitcoms, but like those dramatic shows, like what's gonna happen next week. But yeah, no, I hear you. It's funny because now that we talked about the gear, in my room I have the Elite in its box. I collect figures. In its box, the Elite, the red attire one. I have in the box the Elite, the green one from your tag team with Kofi, and I have the basic. I have your Cyber Monday. I have all your basics. It's really awesome. What was your favorite, gear? Let's call it Evan Bourne. What was your favorite Evan Bourne gear? Because you definitely didn't bring back the Evan Bourne gear as Matt Sydal. You left it there. So let's talk about what's your favorite gear that you wore on WWE.
My favorite gear that I wore on WWE, I guess I liked those black and silver pants that I wore usually with silver kick pads.
Mm-hmm.
I really like that. I always like black and white a lot, but I mean, my black and red stuff was good too. But teaming with Kofi, we actually had a pair of camo stuff. I don't think Vince ever let us wear it on TV.
Camo? I've never seen any photos of that.
Yeah, Air Boom. I mean, I'm pretty sure we did a couple tag. I know we did at least a couple tag matches on live events against Primo and Epico. Yeah, I'll maybe be able to find a picture or something.
Please. I love the camo. I'm a huge gear fanatic. I think if the gear's awesome, the wrestlers take time to make it look good. Instead of just putting on trunks and knee pads. Even though in some places that's the traditional wrestling, like for Young Lions, that's traditional wrestling. But no, you've always had a bigger thing. Even your entrance was so crazy, with the helicopters and everything. It's really cool. I really enjoyed the whole gear with your system. So let's talk about your first figure, because I'm a figure collector, so I would like to know, how did you react to what was the first figure that you saw of yours, if you remember going way back.
Yeah, they actually sent me even some of the prototypes of my original figures. It was really cool. I mean, I'm not a collector of anything because I just use it, but I just thought, I mean, it was, that was more for my family and for my friends and all the people that supported me along the way, not just for myself. That's something that they can have, because they're the people who sort of got me to where I'm at, that got me up in the box. I think it represented a lot more than just like my toy. It really represented like the journey and all the people who got me there. And then, so, my dad carrying it around in his truck everywhere, every chance he can get to show it to somebody. That's because it wasn't just me in that box. It was everybody who kind of created Evan Bourne and all, like, starting from the backyard all the way out, all the way through everything, all the way to Vince.
I mean, you definitely deserve it. You've been wrestling since high school, maybe even further. I don't really. I read or researched the fact that you started in high school and that it moved on further. But yeah, you've been wrestling a lot. You've been getting a lot of training. You wrestled with the greats. So it's the point where it's like you definitely deserve your own figure. You definitely made it as a wrestler to be waving around. Look at my son. He's a big shot wrestler, because that's what it is at this point. So let's go back to the question I asked you, because this is just what's on my mind. You wrestled a lot this year. Before the corona, you did a lot. What was the one match that you said, this year that you were like, oh, I love this match, my favorite match of the year?
That's a good question. You mentioned TJP earlier, and I had a really good match with him maybe a month before the one in Boston. We had a really good one.
You had another match?
Yeah, we wrestled either later that month or before. Like, we ended up wrestling twice in a short amount of time. I can't remember which one was first. I mean, honestly, like, I don't keep track of the matches that I had this year, because I can't. I mean, I'm trying to think of what else I had that was good. I had a really good one in Pittsburgh with Sam Adonis and Jay Bradley and Facade. That was a fun one.
Yeah, Facade's an amazing talent.
I was just so pumped. All my energy, everything I had was focused on this me and Alex Shelley versus Marty Scurll and Flip Gordon match. In fact, I had a one-on-one with Flip Gordon in Barbados that was really good. That was a really fun match for face-to-face wrestling.
Can we find that on social media or ROH? Is that already up on?
Well, it was face-to-face wrestling was where I wrestled Flip. The Ring of Honor match didn't happen because of the coronavirus pandemic.
I got it. I gotta ask, because it got me thinking. Well, you had another match with TJ. Did you get the win? Only because we know the one in Boston. TJ got you with the detonation kick. Did you get the win against TJ the first time or after that?
I don't remember.
So you're gonna leave me looking for it. You're gonna make me search.
My guess is I got the W.
Okay, you've wrestled so many times, I don't remember, if you won or not, right?
Yeah, but in my head, I always win. So.
No, yeah, if the match is great, that's it, you're a winner. If the fans leave with a big smile on their face, you won. That's how I always saw it. I didn't see a wrestler as, oh, he lost, he stinks, boo him. That's never been a real wrestler fan wouldn't think like that. So let's talk about your time in ROH, and even now you're still contracted with ROH to do the WrestleCon and all that. Would you say ROH is like your home, like the place where you started, to the place where you would you stay cozy? If that's
I mean, like I said, I mean, I would never have a corporation be my home. My home is my family. Like,
of course.
And like wrestling, the people who owned it when I first started, and the people who owned it when I second worked there, and the time people who worked there, it's different. So, I mean, it's, if anything, my home would be Dragon Gate, Kobe, Japan. Then I guess Ring of Honor is a nice sort of thing, but it's not really a physical entity. It just is an aloof thing. I do enjoy the Ring of Honor mentality, and I feel like the early ROH mentality is what kind of shaped me.
All right. I'm just trying to think in order, because I don't want to jump around the question. I want to make sure it's all in order. So my next question would be to you is the fact that we talked about WWE a couple times already. I feel like every fan that is a fan of Evan Bourne would love to hear the fact that he'd come back to the WWE as Matt Sydal. But have you ever got close to like talking to someone from corporate in WWE to make a Royal Rumble comeback or anything like that? Because I think it was you who teased it. Because I'm over here driving, I don't know, I remember where I was driving, and I see you posted it on your Instagram, the WWE Supercard, Evan Bourne. I'm over here jumping in the car, like, oh my god, is this happening? And then I'm like, okay, it was just a ruse, it was a joke. So now I want to know, since you made me feel like that, I kind of want to make you feel like that. Is there ever been any talks of Evan Bourne or Matt Sydal coming to WWE back?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I feel bad for teasing you like that. No, I mean, there's no plans right now. There was a time right when the Cruiserweight Classic was getting started, but I was signed to a contract with New Japan. And since I signed that New Japan deal, I haven't heard from him since.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really I mean, I talked to some friends in NXT and here and there, but I'm not like, I don't watch Raw. I don't, it's not my cup of tea per se. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
An opportunity I would balk at. It would be interesting to see what we could do because the universe of WWE has changed significantly since my arrival, and I feel like I was a driver of this of the change that we have now. I feel like I was an early driver of it, and I'm just proud of that. So I don't need to go back to prove anything, but I'm just proud to be a part of the thing that continued wrestling in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. I'm still, blushing with the fact that I fell for, what was a joke, because you don't want to know the reaction I had when I found out it was false. I was like, why? Why would he post something? I knew he just signed to Evolve. I heard Evolve just said they're gonna change names to Evan Bourne. I'm over here putting pieces together like, okay, so this could be the way it goes to WWE or NXT. But I had to sit in the corner, turn off the lights, and cry a little. But away from that, you were a wrestler. Wrestlers tend to be wrestling fans. That's how they become wrestlers. Do you watch? Like, what promotions do you watch that you feel like is entertaining and gives the energy that wrestling fans should thrive for? We could try. We can't hear you again.
Watch, I watch shows live. The shows that I'm on, I just watch those live. For me, there's nothing better than the live event. So yeah, it's hard for me to give a good assessment when there's only if you're wrestling on a show every night, you can't watch the other shows because you're not there. Mm-hmm. So I just try to focus on my side of the street, try and sweep it nice and keep it clean, and then just do a good job inherently and just not be too worried about what everybody else is doing. I think that's really a huge problem in wrestling. All the comparisons and the contrasting and this and that and the should-haves and the would-haves and the could-haves, it's sort of all frivolous and pointless. Just, go out there, enjoy your thing, and then leave it out there. When I finish my match, I leave it. It's for the fans. Now it's for you guys. It's not my match anymore. It's yours. So however you remember it, whatever, do you remember a funny joke or something special or your friend farting, right? I hit the shooting star press. If that's what matters to you, that's what I'm glad that I was able to be a part of that. Because it's not about the match. It's more about the experience of the fans, and usually it's about watching it with your friends and family, and then kind of you're remembering the wrestling, but you really are remembering the time you spent with the people closest to you. And I think that's really what wrestling truly does do for people. Brings families and friends and people together to give them these amazing shared memories, because every night we go out to put on the craziest show, and then everybody gets to share in these special memories.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. That's I never thought of it that way. So yeah, that's pretty insightful. That it is, no matter what memory happened during the match, that's what makes it. Yeah, that's hard to sink in. I need to think about that for a moment. Very spiritual. Who's one person? And I know it's gonna be hard, but there has to be one, that the chemistry level where it's like you can put me in a ring with him, and I know it's gonna be 5 stars. It's just that's how much we wrestled each other enough to know each other's chemistry. I can give you an amazing match with this guy specifically for this reason. Who would that be if you had to pick? Not picking favorites.
Yeah, I pick Ricochet. I mean, he's just we got the same timing. We know the same beats. We came up together as much as you can. We speak the same language when it comes to wrestling. We have the same goals in mind. and he's just like a wrestler out of a video game dream, and it's like he and I just he'd be the guy I'd go to because I know he can also carry me, make me look really good.
I heard that a lot from a lot of other wrestlers when they bring up Ricochet, where it's like, oh, like Will Ospreay said the same thing, like, oh, Ricochet is the one who makes me look good. I'm just following, Ricochet style of wrestling. So yeah, it's that's a lot. It's true. The amount of chemistry you guys have. I remember watching a match with Ricochet. It's very the combos you hit. That's definitely one match everyone should check out if they haven't checked out yet. Ricochet is definitely one of the best matches. So here's a question that I love to ask every wrestler, only because you guys are the ones who could sell it best. I need to hear a road trip story. I have you on here. I need to hear an awesome a funny, awesome, crazy road trip story.
I mean, you got to understand road trip stories are boring. It's like, oh yeah, I spent 2 hours looking for a place to wash my gear, my underwear, and then we found it. And we have the coins, so we had to walk a mile back to go to a bank to get the right coin. The road lacks so much in glamour. It's like, oh yeah, I got to my hotel at 3 a.m. I was so excited to check in, but they didn't have any rooms, and they said nothing would be available. So I slept on the couch in the lobby. It's with my bag hooked to my foot, so no one came and stole my bag. That's.
Yeah, I mean that is a story. That is. I don't think anyone, said that before. But yeah, that's. I feel like what goes behind the wrestling. Like again, like I said, it's all about what we don't. Like how no one knew that you were sleeping in the hotel room on the couch. It's things like that. But I definitely hear a lot of. I know that there's always, a crazy, story that just like just funny, something weird, crazy with other wrestlers. There has to be something like your travels with WWE, your travels with New Japan, anything. There has to be something where it's like, no matter how much I look at the story, I'm gonna just start laughing because it's just a funny story. There's got to be one that you got to tell us that's like, it has to be there. There has to be one.
Come on. It's hard to think of one off the top of my head. Usually. I got to be thinking about the guys or the places, and some of the funniest stories are better left just between the people who experienced them.
That is 100% acceptable.
Yeah, wrestling's a tight-lipped business, and I hate to spoil anything for anyone. No, but I mean, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. But sometimes something will pop up.
But if in mid conversation if it pops up, it's okay to cut me off completely and just be like, I thought of this story if it comes up. But let's talk about the independent scene, because that's you have your own school. There's a lot happening right now where wrestling isn't just based on companies. It's mainly about the independent scene. I hear stories. Like TJ told a story once that at the time that he was going for schools, he had to drive to the school. You couldn't just email or text, and you had to drive to schools and you had to stay in that area, train in that area. How has it changed? How have wrestling schools in the independent scene, how has it all changed?
Well, I just think there's more schools now. There's more good places to learn. There's more places with experience. There's safer places to wrestle. It's a lot safer to train nowadays. It was very dangerous back when I started. It was a closed business. Now the business is open, and so people are more than welcome to join in, because we realize that, even if you're not built to be a wrestler, you can be involved in the production. You can be involved as a cameraman. You can be involved as a podcaster. Like, everybody sort of has a role to play. But if you really want to learn how to wrestle, there's a lot of places that can teach you now, basically because of the generation before me. A lot of those guys started schools, and then my generation started a lot of schools, and everybody's more into giving back than to selflessly keeping these trade secrets to ourselves.
Okay. I mean, I had no idea, in that side of the atmosphere, I had no idea. That's why, it's good to hear, other wrestlers give their own insight on how it's changed, how much it's different. So, I'm going to ask you this, and I feel like it's my fault that I didn't, because this should be the number one question. How did wrestling come to be? How did you immediately know this is what you want to do? Because it takes up a lot of your time. Wrestling isn't something that, you say you're going to do. You actually have to give up a lot for wrestling. So how did that come up in your head?
I know you never give up anything. In life you can only do one thing. You can't do everything. You can only do one thing. So you don't really sacrifice this for that, because if you're doing it, you should be you can't. There's nothing to sacrifice because there's no other option because you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. I was just lucky. I just started wrestling, and I just figured I'd just go to school and work like a regular job and wrestle on the weekends. And I just loved doing wrestling, and I just slowly progressed up the ladder. There was no game plan or betting on going to WWE. In fact, I thought that was an unlikely event. I was more likely just to kind of be a wrestler for fun. And I think that sort of that approach where I just did the wrestling not because of a dream to be a star. I just wanted to have good matches and earn the respect of the guys in the locker room and earn the respect of the guys that I wanted to be like in wrestling. And so that just found me working my way all the way to the top.
Mm-hmm. And that's the underdog story. That's not everyone gets to do the hard work and make it to WWE. Nowadays it's very hard to get to there. A lot of times, I remember watching and I just saw you from ECW made it on, the match with Shelton Benjamin. So it's like, how did that come to me? How did you get to that position? How was your feeling to that position too? I feel like that's also a question that I, want to know. The feeling of you being in a WWE ring with a WWE audience, and it's your first match. Not only was it an amazing match, but it also, you had to do as much as you could to get the attention on you because it was during a rivalry. It was between Shelton Benjamin and Kofi Kingston. I remember you got thrown into Kofi, if you remember that part.
Yeah, powerbombed into the chairs. Yeah, I mean, that was just I had just shown up at those events. I was under a WWE contract, and somebody had called me, a guy I knew through the independent wrestling, and said, "Hey, bro, can you get me a dark match?" Which is like the matches they do before the events. And I said, "Dude, I've been under WWE contract for months now, and I've never had a dark match. Way better. So I got off the phone angry, and I made it a way. I figured out just how I could get myself a dark match because I thought, hey, if this guy thinks he can if this guy thinks he's a star after one dark match, maybe I should do a dark match and maybe they'll think I'm good at wrestling." And I had a decent reputation, and lucky enough for me, I wrestled Jamie Noble, who made me look incredible. And basically the next night I wrestled Shelton Benjamin on ECW, and I was just thrown to the wolves. And so when I was in the ring, I wasn't really drinking in the system. I mean, I guess I had a lot of nerves, but I was pretty comfortable in the ring. In fact, more comfortable in the ring than I would be backstage or on the airplane or in the hotel. So really, when things go down in the ring and we're going to do something crazy, that's kind of the moment where I shine. And so when the cameras go on and that ECW episode started, I had no idea that I was going to start this real epic journey. I really figured it would just be more of a one-off, no big deal thing. And so really just to be able to be called back on the road week after week from there was a really big honor. And every week it happened, I was like, I can't believe I'm on the road again. My first road assignment was to wrestle the great Khali, but not too long after that, they started utilizing me a little bit more, and I was wrestling Chavo Guerrero, opening up these shows, and really having some of the matches I've been the most proud of in my career.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, because at the time, during that match, the one Shelton, you were still Matt Sydal. This was way before Evan Bourne. You were still formerly known as Matt Sydal. I don't even know if you got a full entrance at the time. So how did that call happen? How did they all right, we're using you now. That's it. You're going to be a full roster member for, I don't remember if it was Raw or something. I know it was during the band split. You're going to be this guy, and we're going to give you the name Evan Bourne. Your finish is going to be called Airborne. It's going to be this and that. How did you take in all of that? The fact that you're building a character, things that you watch on TV.
No character was built. We just the next week they wanted me to wrestle again, and they realized through the legal team that it would be better to give me a new name than use Matt Sydal. Mm-hmm. And so I had about 10 minutes to come up with a new name, and we just rocked it from there. I mean, I had 10. Everything is wrestling. It's like you hurry up and wait. So all you can do is be prepared. To worry is preposterous, but to be prepared is the only thing you can do. So that way, when they do say, "Hey, you need a new name. We got to call you this. What are you going to do?" You're able to kind of adapt on the fly and make the most of that kind of situation. And yeah, then CM Punk and Joey Styles helped me come up with the name Evan Bourne, and then off to the races we went.
Literally, because you were one of the fastest guys in the company. Yeah, is that ever been have you noticed that you are one of the quickest, one of the fastest guys in the locker room compared to other guys, that you wrestled with? You were always the quick one. You're always the flashy in that aspect.
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, Dragon Gate Pro Wrestling is the fastest wrestling on the planet. The guy that I had an opponent named Yoshino that I wrestled frequently, and he is the fastest wrestler on the planet. And so for me, I always thought that guys who go hard in the ring is important, but I'm small, so I need more inertia. And the faster I go, the harder I can come crashing into somebody, and I can actually be a legitimate threat. And so speed is a super important tactic. And really using that WWE ring to like collect extra momentum. I just think I had better footwork and I was faster, and I just you asked me where my home was, a company, no, it's like basically any wrestling ring. And so I just really felt at home there, and where I could just explode. And my focus was on being the fastest guy on the roster. Like, I wanted that to be, I wanted to be as fast as this guy named Shoeless Joe Jackson, who's a football player. I just want to be as fast as him, and I just thought that would be like going corner to corner, rope to rope, whatever it was. I just wanted to be faster and quicker than everybody else.
Speaking of, Dragon Gate, we know formerly, known as Neville, Pac was originally there and then went to the WWE and then went back for a short time. Could we see you going back, since you do have all the, I don't want to say memories, but you just have the feeling that you talk about Dragon Gate, like it's.
Yeah, I went back when I was with Ring of Honor. Me and Ricochet tagged together. Me, Ricochet, and Mike Sydal tagged. Right now, I don't think Ring of Honor, Dragon Gate's bringing in a lot of guys. I mean, right, given this way things are, who knows? But yeah, Japanese wrestling is sort of what I set out to do. I didn't set out to be in the WWE. I wanted to be a Japanese wrestler, and so that's sort of where my heart always will lie, at Corkin Hall, and hopefully you can find me there.
I'm looking forward to it. Every time I flip the channel, or I'm on, social media, YouTube, I always look at like the most recent stuff uploaded, because I want to see the most. That's the only way to watch wrestling now, through social media, which is really, really popular. We're winding down. I only have you for an hour. We're winding down to our final couple questions, but I don't want to run around the bush. So let's talk about the fact that you held a lot of titles. What is one title in WWE that you wish you held, and like just the reasoning for it?
I just always thought it'd be cool to be Intercontinental Champion. I like the belt a lot. It's a pretty belt. But, no, I mean, I wasn't really ever a contender for any of the belts, so I didn't really have my eyes set on them. I always wanted to be Dragon Gate Open the Dream Gate champion, and then IWGP Junior Heavyweight champion.
Interesting. Anything else? Impact? Anything with like Impact or
ROH? Becoming the X Division champion meant a lot to me, because when I first started, that was like the title. That was the belt for independent wrestlers or indie guys. So winning that was a huge deal to me. I've sort of felt like, that's sort of where my indie career got cooking, and then I was able to come back through, starting out as a jobber, come back as a champion. I was pretty proud of that. And a lot. It's had a lot of great champions, and so that's, to me, the lineage is super important.
I'm sorry, because again, like social gears are really a big part. There's something that I noticed in maybe one or two matches. You only wore this gear once or twice, but this gear, I literally go speechless. It's like the coolest gear. It does have eyes. It's either red or black. It's either red or blue. Like the whole thing is black, but the design is either red or blue, or like pink and red. I can't. It's like, it's shiny. It's very shiny gear, and you wore it during the Fatal 5-Way. It was like a. And then you wore it once in a singles match, but it was an independent way. Do you know what I'm talking? I don't know if I'm giving you a good description or not.
They're blue pants with like white and pink.
No. It wasn't blue. It was black. It was like shiny black, like very shiny black, and it kind of looked like.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Is there a reason why you don't wear it a lot? Like, is there?
It got it was made out of this like crushed velvet material that just, it looks a little dirty. It doesn't look clean, like it doesn't look fresh and crisp like it used to. Just a few wears. Some of the gear I make doesn't, like, it's not made. It's not made to get treated like I treat wrestling gear. You get smashed around and rolling around in dirt and all this stuff, and yeah, it just got chewed up a little bit. I think I still have it in the starting rotation, but yeah, it's just one one of those ones where after a couple washes, it started to look not so hot, and I just was like, need to make new gear, make it look perfect every time.
Well, yeah, that's the wrestler's thing. You always want to have new gear at pay-per-views, at events. It's what it's been. So I have to ask, have you ever, are you planning to sell gear? Because I know a lot of wrestlers are selling their gear. Are you planning to sell, the gear that you're not wearing or stuff like that?
Yeah, lately I've been selling T-shirts. I've been selling 8x10s. I've also sold a ring jacket or two. I have a couple pairs of tights I would sell if people are interested. I'm open to that. I'm not trying to hit people up for their money at this time either. But if this is something people are interested in, I don't necessarily sell. Most of my stuff I just keep for my own personal collection, and I don't really like selling it that much. But it's a new era, so I can be open to these kind of things.
Yeah, and I've seen, it's recently that a lot of wrestlers are doing it. Like Will Ospreay just sold his Super Junior gear, and I'm like, he just wore it a couple months ago. It's the red and gold. It's like wrestlers are selling their gear a lot because the whole point is to get new gear. You always have to have new gear, so it's like, where's your gear gonna go? But no, I hear sentimental value is also a really powerful thing. So yeah, a lot of people don't want to sell their gear or hit up people, hey, buy my gear, stuff like that. We can find your shirts at Pro Wrestling Tees, right? That's basically the main. I
have/Matt Sydal, SYDAL.
I have a couple of your shirts. My favorite one's the one with the third eye, the one where it's like in the back is a mirror. I love that shirt.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks.
Of course, and I've been supporting since day one. So okay. So back to the wrestling industry, the wrestling world. You've wrestled many places, many people. Where, if this is all over, when this is all over, what is one thing that you want to get back? What is one thing that's like I've been everywhere. Like you've literally been everywhere, even in places that people don't really know. You've been there. These small companies, these small independent scenes. Where's the minute this is over, you're like, okay, fine, I want to travel. I definitely want to go wrestle. What's the next place I want to go to? What would that be? The mindset.
Well, I think I've got a lot of fans in different countries all over the world, and I think I'd love to be able to get back to them. I wrestle. I love to wrestle in Peru and Israel. I've done shows in Taiwan and Japan. Really, I love wrestling for Rev Pro in England. That's one of my favorite places. I like WXW in Germany. There's just, for me, it's more about where do I get lucky enough to get to go to work, and when to get to work in front of the bigger crowds. That's sort of I get really lucky to go to companies' kind of bigger events and get to see everybody when they're peaking and really at their best. And I look forward to getting back to that. Sometimes the travel grows weary, but as a wrestler, we got to go to make our money. So, wherever there's shows, I'll be back working.
Are there still? Because I hear so many wrestlers talk about, I'm getting these bookings and the quarantine's not even over yet, and I'm getting these calls from multiple promotions that are planning to do events in August, September, November, December. Have you been getting calls? Have you been getting Matt, when this is over, we want you here. We want you to be main event. We want you to have you got any calls lately?
No, I mean I just a few events, not enough to book up a full calendar. But everybody's just doing soft planning, but you can't really plan ahead because you can't. Nobody's logistically, it costs a lot of money to start going on the show. You have to put deposits on buildings, deposits for wrestlers, flights, all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And for a waiver, or then when the government declares a state of emergency, there's no guarantee of refund. So it's just better, I think, right now for people just to wait and see.
All right.
Local health places. I mean, nobody wants to get themselves sick or their family. I know I can't afford to get sick. I mean, we pay enough for health insurance as it is, and then to pay for the hospital treatment is really outrageous. We live in a crazy world, in the richest country in the world, where we don't offer Medicare for all, even though it would be easily done and save us half as much money on our health care. So, that's why everybody needs to be safe, because there's a lot of people in the U.S. that can't afford to go see a doctor. So it's in our best interest to protect friends, family, and people we don't know.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Wow, I completely. This happens a lot. Every time you give a really hard answer, I just forget my next question, because during the talk, it's like I'm getting more. It's crazy. You always get me to. It's really great listening to you. Like I don't know how you don't have your own podcast at this point. It's amazing.
Not that. Yeah, I'm on 2% battery, so let's wrap it up, please.
Of course. I'm so sorry. Just the last question, I guess. Let me just go with this. Everyone's sitting at home. Give us something. Like, give the fans a match that they should watch with you in it. Like, guys, watch me in this match. Like, give us some match that you are really proud of. That you're like, I want everyone to check this match out. Come on, don't leave me.
I wouldn't know how to, like, I mean, nobody, I don't know what you would find it on or whatever. Yeah,
What's just one match that you saw before, like that you were at a TV event where you're like, this is an awesome match. You guys got to check it out. That you're
just like a match between two people?
That you are included in, yes.
Oh, that includes me.
Yes, that includes you.
I don't know. Maybe what can we find online? Like it's just I'm lost. I can't help you with that.
All right, fine. Let's
Google something. I think they're all terrible. What am I supposed to say? I'm trying to make it better tomorrow. Find me wrestling in the future. It'll be better than whatever I did in the past.
That's perfect. There you go. That's the perfect. All right, tell people where they can find you.
All right, MATTSYDAL, Matt Sydal on Instagram. I'm Find Evan, FINDEVAN on Twitter. ProWrestlingTees.com/Matt Sydal. Think for yourselves and question everything. Peace, love, and pro wrestling.